oh, what else is wrong with this house? You know, you just don't want it to be in their face, right? And again, these are just very common things. Black caulking around the bathtub. I mean, let's just get rid of that. That's it's a $20 fix, you know. Stuff like that. So anyway, buyers will notice this stuff more than they're gonna notice the pretty little flowers you got out, right? It's just, you need to get rid of, the home needs to be in sound condition, as good as you can do it. Let's see. Okay, so this is an example. This is a very common, this is a, anti-siphon valve outside, regulates your irrigation and sometimes the pool fill, which in this case. And this seller had put a lot of money into the house. He had redone the pool deck, and then he was just gonna leave this. I said, no, we're not gonna leave that. Because the pool deck and the pool had actually been in pretty bad condition before he redid it to get it ready for sale. And I said, this is just a tell, what I call a tell, T-E-L-L, of what the property looked like before.
Yes.
And so I said, no, we're gonna spend the $500 and we're gonna get this done by a plumber and it's gonna look fantastic. And this little brass piece, I mean, the buyers that bought, it was right there on the walkway as you walk out to the pool. They were like, oh, this house is in such good condition. And I'm like, yes, but that's what you want. You don't want this ugly thing in their face. Okay, here's another example. This was just a small stain on the ceiling, and this light was pretty ugly, but it was also pretty suspect as far as electrical connection. And so I said to them, I said, number one, we're gonna paint, we're gonna disclose. There was a previous leak above, there was a bathroom above. We're gonna disclose, and it was fixed, and we had receipts, but we painted that, and then we put a new light fixture in. And it just, it's just common sense, right? It just looks so much better. But sometimes the sellers need you to verify this for them. They might be thinking, oh, I probably should do that, but I don't know. And I have a lot of vendors that I use, and I just go in and I make it really easy for them. So I said, yes, this will be taken care of, boom, boom, boom. What else is on the list? This was a bad one. This was a listing, it was a rental, and my seller she was trying to do property management herself, which I don't recommend. And she just never checked on it. So we ended up, on this one, tearing up the whole thing and putting in a new tub, putting in new tile. But you just, if you're gonna sell something like this, if the seller just doesn't wanna do anything or can't do anything, then it needs to be priced appropriately, and then end of story.
Janet, what's a fix like that cost? About?
In this case, it cost about, I want to say about $2,500.
Okay.
It was about $2,500, but it turned out great.
Sure.
And it was brand new, and yeah, so.
That was with the tile and the tub?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, flaking paint, this is gonna be an issue for a lot of loans. FHA and VA will definitely be an issue. And it's so easily taken care of. So it needs to be scraped, it needs to be painted again, and story, you're done. And it just looks great. But the inside of the house can look beautiful, and then they come out here and they're like, oh, I don't know. And again, it's a tell. It's a tell on what kind of, how the seller was taking care of the property, or if they were or they weren't taking care of it. I usually have the AC looked at if it's a vacant home or the seller has not had it serviced in a long time. I usually do recommend that they have someone come out and service it at least, just to troubleshoot it, because that is one of the biggest things that comes up. In this case, they had 2 AC units. The house had been vacant for 2 years. The seller had inherited it from her parents, and she had no idea if they'd been serviced or not, and they were original. So I said, let's have them serviced. And sure enough, the fan blower was out on one of them, which was really only about a $500 fix. Wasn't too bad, really. But if that had come up on the inspection, the buyer, the fact that they were original, the buyer would have gone, oh God, I don't know, it's got original units and they're not even working right now, so let's pass. So things like this can actually just make your transaction go so much smoother if you just try and preempt problems, Okay, sliding glass doors. Yeah. How many of you have gone into a home and you're with your buyers and you're trying to get that sliding glass door open and won't open, and you're like, all your weight into it, and the darn thing's not open. I know, and then your buyers are looking like, oh, I don't know about this house, you know, what else is wrong? So when I have a problem like that, I do have a great vendor, and I'll be happy to give you his name, but he actually takes, this sliding door, I could barely get open, like only a couple inches, and then it wouldn't go. I couldn't even get out onto the balcony. So I had him come in, he takes it off the rails, and he lays it down, he puts new rollers in, he completely cleans the track, and then he puts it back, and I could open it with my little finger. I went like, boop, and it would just slide. You know, and that's what you want, right?
How much for the cost?
On this one, it was an 8-foot door, it was a big one. I wanna say he charged me around $300. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? But a lot of sellers, they either don't wanna deal with it, they're used to trying to fight the door, or they just don't know where to go. So it's my job to go, okay, this is what needs to be done, I'll take care of this, we'll get this done, they're gonna pay for it. But I know who to go to, I'll get this done. Clean everything. So buyers don't mind or even see their own dirt sometimes. I know in my house I have a lot of dirt, I just see it, but I don't really see it, right? But they will see every bit of the seller's dirt. And God forbid there's hair in the sink, or just stuff like that. It just grosses people out. So I go inside and I have them clean everything, cabinets inside. Now, if it's a vacant house, it's so much easier because they don't have their stuff there. But if it's not, I still tell them, you have to get all this stuff cleaned. If you can't do it, there's a cleaning service that'll come in and do this for you. One thing I do offer my listings, and it's kind of like a little perk, they talked about giving sellers coverage, and I think that's a great idea. $70, I mean, that's a great way to get your foot in the door for getting that listing. I actually do pay for a window washer to come and clean the windows, because for me, it's worth it, because it's just so great for the listing, so great for the photos, and it's just a personal thing with me. It has to be clean like that. And the windows, when they're sparkling, it's just incredible. It really makes a big difference. So I offer that to my sellers. But clean everything. I mean, the bathroom vents, the exhaust vents, they get so clogged with stuff. And a lot of people just don't even notice it, right? You just don't notice that in your own home, but buyers look up, they're looking at everything, and they see that. So you just want everything clean. Also, smells, so you can have a really clean listing, but if they walk in and there's an odor, that is it's more powerful than sight. And so you really want to make sure that you've removed all the odors if you can. I mean, I know if it's been a smoker for 30 years, it's going to be tough. But just do your best. Cooking odors, those can be controlled. I mean, I've had not many, but a few sellers that were from just different ethnic backgrounds, and they love to cook fish, and oh my God, mackerel. And it's like you walk in and it's, oh my God. So you just have to tell them, you cannot cook right now. You can't cook, take out, it's all take out, but no cooking. And then also, I just became aware of this issue on my last listing, and I had no idea, so I took a listing, it was a great listing, they saw it, it's the one on Lone Desert, right over here in Gresham Park. And they had a great front loader washer and dryer set, really nice, pretty new, like a couple years, but really attractive, pretty little laundry room. I never opened the washer. I never opened it. And inspection comes, they open the washer to run it, and the smell from that front loader was unbelievable. I thought Shirley was the buyer's agent. I thought she was exaggerating. I thought, Shirley, come on, how bad could it be? Because it showed up on the list, on the list to be repaired or remedied. And I'm like, oh. And so I go to the house, and I walk in and I open the door. I thought I was gonna die. Oh my God, this has to be like something that needs a formal cleanup. This is unreal. And I told the sellers they couldn't believe it either, but apparently with front loaders, when my appliance man came and he did the cleaning of it and everything, he said it's a common problem, and you really cannot shut that door on a front loader.
Yeah.
You always leave it slightly open so it will air out. But it was a bad smell. Anyway, so you want to be aware of that.
Okay, so that's a good suggestion though, when people are gonna have, sorry to interrupt.
if you're gonna have a listing and they're gonna be leaving the house, you need to inform them to not close that washer, because mold forms so quickly in
Yeah.
those, like immediately, and the smell is so overwhelming.
It was
And
bad.
it's not, people are using their washers pretty frequently, but if it's vacant, it's not being touched, it's just like the toilets, you know, they're not flushing the toilets. So
Yeah.
just make that a point that you mentioned.
And from now on, when I get a listing of a front loader, I'm gonna first look under the sink and then I'm gonna. It's such an eye opener for me. Anyway, I get down to the nitty gritty with my listings and I really wanna make sure that they're pretty perfect. So this is just one little illustration, but here, this is the door into the garage. Usually it's dirty, come on, it is in everybody's house, mine too. This is a little piece of weather stripping that costs $7. And always, it gets chewed up by pets, it gets chewed up by all kinds of stuff. Rip it out, put a new one in, clean the threshold, get a new mat. I mean, it looks so much better, right? But again, just little things like that make a big difference. Ugh, horrible, right? You see this every time, you go, a lot of times when you go into listing. And they have to be clean. You change the filters, of course, but that part has to be cleaned. And sometimes you have to get up there, or your cleaner has to get up there and just go line by line and get it clean, but it's worth it. So this is, one half was done, one half wasn't. Same house.
Wow.
Again, this is dust that built up on the light fixtures that had never been dusted or anything. I mean, ridiculous, right? Okay. This is really common. So a lot of these homes have these mushroom lights, which I personally hate, and I try to get rid of at every opportunity. Sometimes I can. But they almost always have little gnats or something in it. But can you see what's in that one?
Bugs.
Scorpion.
Oh, yeah.
There was a scorpion in that one, and
Is
yeah.
that inside the
So
house,
of
Jen?
course
Is
we,
that in a bedroom or something?
that was in a closet.
Closet.
Yeah, so when I take a listing, I mean, like I said, I go through every room. This was an under the stairs closet. So, of course, the seller hadn't really been in there in a long time, and he had looked up, and there it was. But guarantee you, a buyer's gonna see that, and they're gonna, ooh, not this house. Medicine cabinets. If a medicine cabinet gets like this, and I have other pictures that are really much worse, but I just replace it.
You can actually paint that. You
Well,
can sand it and paint it, and with an acrylic, I just did it.
Splendid.
okay, well then Rob,
Spray
All that
hire
stuff,
Rob.
I know.
Rob.
I know all the tricks on this stuff, 34 years in the business.
I know.
Yeah, I just
Spray
did it,
paints.
and it flew right through the inspection.
I love it, good, that's great. Well, I tend to just replace them, but if
Yeah.
I had a Rob, I would care about it. Okay, and then dirt in the window tracks, again, that's gonna be taken care of by the cleaner, the window washer for me. But can you see how much sand just came into it?
Is that inside?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's inside. I know. Stuff like this is so easily fixed. There's no reason to have this. Even if it's a fixer-upper, you just don't want crap like this. This is 50 cents. That, you need to get you should have really up-to-date new smoke detectors, really, because that helps when buyers are coming in. They just feel it at least is in good condition, at least has, an alarm system, that type of thing, smoke alarm. And then water damage over by the tub, so common, the water splashes out, blah, blah, blah. So easy to replace that, just repaint it.
It needs to be done though.
Yeah, oh,
These people
totally.
will see that, and once again, it goes down to the telesigns.
Yeah,
And all these things add up, and it makes it harder to sell your listing. You gotta take care of it up front.
yeah, just take care of
Period,
it.
end of story.
Yeah, and things go very smoothly.
Janet
Yeah.
and can you explain delicately how you approach that with your sellers without?
I'm not very delicate.
I'm not delicate. I mean, our job is to get the highest amount of money for that house. It's their biggest investment. And, you have to put them in the buyer's shoes and saying, if you were walking in, and we always use a model, saying your home needs to look like a model, and it does. But when you're going in, you see water damage, all it does is it creates doubt in people's minds. And no one's gonna argue that. So this needs to be addressed. Fortunately, I can do a lot of that stuff myself, but if not, you need to have someone come in and do it. Because it could these things that add up could cost you $15,000 to $20,000 in terms of value off that property.
Yes.
I mean, that is a fact,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It could be actual value or it could be perceived
Yeah.
value. So it's just,
And
yeah,
in terms of what they're writing in terms of an offer.
totally,
Yep.
yeah. Well said. Check for critters. So this was a first for me. This happened in the Paseos, a beautiful listing up in a couple of the gated communities, or one of the gated communities. But that's a
Don't go in
snake.
there.
That is a baby snake.
Ew.
Baby rattler. I know, and that was in the garage. So when I have a listing, I go through it. A lot of people have these like little blue traps. But really, you know, you don't wanna, it's not show and tell. You don't want, cause a buyer is gonna look. They're gonna, oh, blue trap, let's see what they got.
Uh-huh.
Snake, oh, you know, so get rid of them. You know, they don't need to be there for showings, right? Just get rid of them. Again, I already talked about cleaning windows. This was one of my listings. It had super high windows. It had so many high windows, this poor guy. But I just had it done and they were filthy dirty. And oh my God, afterwards, it just was night and day. That's the one in the Pueblo that you helped me with, yeah. Anyway, and I also, if they have solar screens, it's better just to take them off, really. Store them in the garage.
What's the typical cost for windows? Is it per window? What do you see typically on your listings when they go
This
through?
one had a ton of very high windows, a lot of windows too. This one cost me about $300.
And they vacuum out the windowsills and do the
They
windows?
do everything, they even clean the screens,
Wow.
and they put them back, if you want them put back, but I rarely do. I really pretty much prefer the screens stay in the garage, and we'll say, oh, we've got solar screens, you know, if it's an asset to the house, but I don't want them on the windows, because they dim the light, and they kind of impede views. So just get rid of them, they'll be clean, they'll be in the garage, but, and probably on the home inspection, it'll note no screens, and then you go, okay, they're in the garage, and we'll put them back on for you, but just get them off. And the clean glass just says so much.
So normally like $200 can be done? Window
This
cleaning.
one was about 300, could have been 325. Most of, it depends on the house, it really
2,000
depends.
square
Yeah,
foot?
depends on the number.
This one was 3,000 square foot home,
Okay, if 2,000 square foot and
two-story. You know, probably around 225.
Okay.
I've had as low for a Sun City single story, 1,500 square foot, I think he charged me 180. So it varies, yeah, but I mean, it's
And you don't
so,
necessarily have to do the inside and outside. If the inside is bad and the tracks are just filthy, yes, you should do it. So it shows there could be a problem with the window. But if it's pretty clean on the inside and, you know, you want to save that money but still get the impact, just do the exteriors.
Do inside and outside.
But definitely take the screens down.
Alright, okay, that's a guy talking.
It's important
That
now
one was
that the window
325
is
for both sides, inside
Yes,
and out.
both sides, yeah.
important is.
That's it.
Declutter, okay, so
This
this
is
is the big
hard.
one, this is the hard, this is the hard. It's not the other two, this is the hard. So sellers are very attached to their stuff, most of them, and they just don't wanna hear that it's not attractive. Or it's not gonna look good in photos, but you just have to, you know, I'm very upfront with them, and when I do my initial walkthrough, I even start talking about it. And so, anyway, I've seen everything. I had a listing where he was a hunter and he had two moose heads. We're not deer, not elk, moose.
Scary.
I have never seen a moose up front, but I have now. There was one on this side of the dining room and one on this side of the dining room, two of them facing each other. And the dining room was only like 12 by 12, so they took up literally half of the dining room. They were about 5 feet off the wall, these things, and you had to kind of walk around them to get to the chair. And I just said, no, these have to go, these have to go. He's like, you don't think it's a selling point? So I said, okay, so anyway, and he did, he put them in storage and sent them up to Utah and everything else. Anyway, so anyway, yeah, this is just you, this is the hard part, but you have to, if you really have stuff that you know is not gonna look good in photos, or they just have too much stuff, you just have to tell them, this is the whole idea, everything starts with photos, and I have experience, I know what's gonna look good in the photos and what's not, and you just have to be, you know, professional about it. So, this is a badger head. These are pelts. Pelts. And that's a deer head.
Yeah.
All in one house.
Dead.
Obviously hunters, they loved hunting. They even had pictures of their kids with rifles stuffing on the trophy, you know? And I'm like, no. This is one way I do it. I just take photos when I do my initial tour. And then I said, I'm gonna send you pictures of things that are circled that I really don't wanna see. That I really think need to be put in storage or put in the garage. And so this couch went in the garage, this little table, all those things went away. And then I was able to coordinate other things, bring in things that I have that I know look good in photos. This is an example of just a modest townhouse. This, 1,600 square foot townhouse. And they just had a ton of stuff, and I just said, we need to just get rid of it, start packing it. And they also had a table in front of this, which was a breakfast bar, but no stools. So I ended up bringing stools, they're not in the photo, but that's what we did. It just looks a lot cleaner. Unfortunately, I forgot about this. And I was like, oh, Janet. But at least it's blue. Yeah, and then we did bring in bar stools. Okay, so this house was up in Andalusia, in the Paseos, nice house, but had tons of crap in it. I mean, just tons, super nice people, but they'd lived there a while. They had a lot of collections and a lot of stuff. And just, a lot of books, a lot of everything. And so we were really gonna try and get top dollar. COVID had just happened. And so number one, we were worried, can we even sell this house, right? And then I said, well, let's get some attractive light fixtures, some more current light fixtures, and we did do that throughout the house. And then we really need to purge. And so they did, and this is what that photo looked like.
Oh, wow.
New light fixture, made a huge difference, but of course cleaning up everything too.
Wow.
Getting rid of that bookshelf here, just, Again,
That's good.
they knew they were gonna move, so they did have some moving boxes out, so don't judge, they were moving. But this piano, this little plastic thing had been there a long time though. And this piano, you had to walk around the piano, the front door was here, and you had to walk around the piano to get to the family room. And it was kind of a narrow fit between this and and so I hated that couch anyway, so I said, okay, this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna move that piano to where that couch was, and then we're gonna purge some other stuff.
Wow.
New light fixture, and we had a matching one up there. And just moving that piano over, I brought the rug in, I brought the art in and stuff like that, but just having a straight shot through to the next room is
Did
so
they
much.
want to move after?
Yeah. No, not like,
Wow, good job.
same house, just a different view, and then that's what that looked like. It's just, it just makes a big difference. Kitchen. They initially didn't have any hardware on their cabinets, and they put it on. I just said, you should have some hardware to bling up your kitchen, because you don't really have a backsplash, you don't have a lot of things that other homes in this neighborhood or in this price range would have. So let's add some hardware at least on the cabinets. So they did that. We changed, of course, some other stuff, but yeah. The power of paint, so this is huge, and everybody here in my group will tell you, paint is one of the most cost-effective ways to change a listing. It just is. So this was a recent listing of mine that these people came and gave me their 2 cents on. And it was over in a guard-gated community, but it was all original, had not been touched since 1995. And we painted it, and we changed out the brass light fixture for a more current one. And we got rid of the drapes. And put in, white blinds, so 2.5 inch, which are nicer than the 2 inch. Same house. The handrail was just kind of that pink wood color, that whitewash that's so awful from the 90s. And we painted it white, redid the carpet, took away all the drapes.
How long did all that take, Janet?
This one took a
I
while.
was gonna say, that looks like it.
This one took a while, yeah.
at least 2 weeks, huh?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No.
I bet you would. This was a
More than 2
part of
weeks.
the master bedroom. Yeah. Just makes a big difference. So we did carpet, we did paint, we did light fixtures, we did new fans everywhere, we did drapes where we needed to, and then took a lot of drapes away and just did the blinds. But it just, made a huge difference.
Yeah, my God.
So this house, if we had not done anything, and it was all original, the comp for it was right around 5. And it was a big house, it was about 3,600 square feet, but it was just so much square footage to redo. And the house that was the comp in that former condition, that had been on the market months and months and months, finally sold, and it sold right around 5, I wanna say. And, but a model match, on the same street. And, we got $710 for it. So she put 42 into it, and she made almost a couple.
And how long was it on the market? What?
This house?
Yeah.
This house was on the market, 11 days. Yeah. And it backed up to not a great street. So there was a double whammy on this house, they all know it.
So when you need a lot of time to almost remodel this house, right? So when you sign contract, what kind of contract you?
Oh, you know what, I get, this seller was referred to me. She inherited the house, and the next door neighbor, I had sold that house to the buyer. And so, he referred me to his next door neighbor. And, from when I first met her, I got a pretty good feeling about who she was. I met her husband at the same time, and they lived in Seattle, and I met them in person at the house, and I gave them my suggestions, and I just knew she was gonna be okay. So I just said, we'll sign a listing contract later. I don't recommend that, honestly. I mean, you could get burned, but I never have, and usually I'm almost 100% referral, so when you get referred by a former buyer or the next door neighbor or a really good friend or family member, it's pretty much gonna happen. I didn't really worry about it, yeah, on this one. Anyway, this is a different house. This was in the Pueblo. Again, paint job from, I don't know, early 2000s maybe. Chocolate wall, and these drapes, this was a 25-foot ceiling, it was so high. And these drapes, and then they blacked out the windows. So I was like, okay, all of this has to change. So we did it. He was an investor from San Francisco who was referred to me by an agent in San Francisco that I know. And at first he didn't want to put any money into it, and I said, no, you need to put money into this. So he did, and then we painted it, cleaned all the windows. I could do a million photos on this house, but I only took this one. This is another listing that I just had earlier this year that's in the Mesa area. And nice house, but pretty neglected. And you can see the difference in the lighting. So they had warm lights on this side. See how different it looks? Imagine if you were having professional photos taken. I mean, how goofy is that? So of course I changed all the light bulbs. But this was just a light bulb. So I put a new fixture there, I put new pendant lights in, cleaned it, painted it, got rid of the accent wall. But how much better is that? Just night and day.
Huge.
So you're gonna make a lot more money if you do this, and that's what I stress. I stress to them, I show them, this is what you make if you leave it as it is. This is what you make if you put a little into it, and I will handle it. I'll get it done.
It's also to create a lot more business for you, because we're the same way. All our business is referral for the most part. It's because we go that extra step, and people tell people, and we will constantly get the phone to ring, especially in a tight market where you have low inventory.
Yep.
You have to show your value, even from picking up a buyer and taking them in your car, and there's a whole thing I can go on hours on that and what we do.
Yeah.
It's so important to do these things, but you have to stand out, because there's not a lot of inventory, and the buyers that are coming in, they're making decisions. And if you go over and above, and you're making them more money and getting them more money in their home, you're gonna pick up a lot more buyers or sellers
Yeah.
from that particular source.
Plus, the market right now, 7.5%. On this house, they got this when the interest rates are super low. Now, the person coming in here has got double the payment, if not more, and they're gonna have to put money into it. It's gonna take a long time to sell this house, or they're gonna sell it at a big, big discount. So what I tell them is, okay, people coming in now, this is what their payment is. I even take it with me. I go, this is what your new buyer's payment is gonna be. Would you pay this much a month for this house? No, they wouldn't even do it, right? So this is what you have to do to tell them, this is what you need to do. So this is Lone Desert, it's over here in Gresham Park. They all came to this one for me and gave me their 2 cents on things. This is again, you know, what do you call, harvest gold paint, you know, which is very dated. And they had a lot of drapes in this one, and the drapes were short. They didn't go to the ground, which drives me and Shirley crazy. Anyway, there was just a lot of stuff in here, but it had great bones. It had a great floor plan. It had a great location. So I said, there's so many positives about this. Let's just put a little money into it, and let's, you know, get multiple offers, and we did. So we got rid of the paint. I put a little staging in. I put much brighter light bulbs in this. Initially, I wanted to get rid of this, but I really couldn't. I just couldn't. There were 3 matching ones throughout the house, and it was going to be a big deal with the seller. And I thought, how can I make this better? And as soon as I put a brighter light bulb in it, it looked so much better.
Janet,
Anyway.
question, where are you guys at with painters price wise, $1.50, $2 a foot?
This house was 2,000 square feet. They did everything except for, they did only 2 ceilings, and then the rest of them they didn't do. I would say it was 2,200.
Alright, it's a little over $1 a foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's typically, depending if you're doing your casing around the doors and your baseboard
They
and
did
your
do
doors. If you're
some.
just doing the walls, it's gonna be around $1, $1.25, and depending.
You buy the paint or?
No,
just
No,
leave it?
painters usually.
Painters
You
buy.
put,
Yeah.
you
I
put
tell them
the
what I want.
dollar per square, that's a very good price.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
But,
told them.
you know, and as you can see with what Janet's done here, it is what we do as well. You don't need a lot in terms of staging, but just doing a little pop of color and adding a little bit of, you know, the
The
fake
orange
plants,
greens,
just
yeah.
around is gonna make so much of a difference. So we have a storage unit filled with the little things. We don't do the full staging we have on some big houses, and we have a company that we've used.
Yeah, and I'm gonna show you one of the
But,
pictures.
but you can see the difference it just makes.
Green, yeah.
And paint is money in a bucket.
Oh,
I mean, I'm telling you.
you get 3 times the return on what you put in. I mean, really, $2,200 or so to do this. And they did the doors, the baseboards. They didn't do the crown molding because it was already a good color. But, I mean, they did everything. It looks amazing.
I
Yeah.
got a question for you, Janet. When you say I put in a brighter light bulb, or I had this painted, are you getting the money from the client, or are you putting it up? or
Good
are
question.
you-
So it depends.
Okay.
Most of the time, a lot of the time, because I'm 100% refer. So this seller, I bought this house with them 5 years ago, and then I sold another house with them, and then I sold their kid's house. So, and they're good friends of ours. So I paid for it. I paid for it up front. They paid me back at close of escrow.
Okay.
I knew it would sell fast. It was a fantastic location. It was gonna sell fast.
Do
So I
you-
wasn't worried about it.
Okay, and in that situation, is that pretty typical for you, or is, because I'm
Yeah.
working with some people, right, they don't have the snuff and the clout, and sometimes you're like, God, I wanna help, then I'm so new, I keep hearing, everybody that's ever been sued, the number one thing is, I just wanted to help, and I'm like, oh shit, where do we help, and so again, from being a new agent, okay, I'm just trying to figure out.
I've been doing this a long, long time, and I have a bank account that's specifically for this type of stuff. So I take the money out of that, and then I reimburse it at close of escrow. Sometimes, depending on the situation, I'll have the seller, so for instance, on the house that had all those peach drapes and everything, that seller wanted to pay for the carpet herself, because she wanted to get points on her credit card. So I mean, that's fine, and it just depends on the situation. I ended up paying for the painter on that one, and the painter on that one was a lot more. It was almost 4,000 square feet and very high ceilings. And that one ended up being about almost $2 a square foot. Yeah, but it was a different property, a different kind of property.
And just one more on the follow-up, if in fact we did have the clout and capacity to be able to help a client, do you put it in an addendum to get reimbursed, or?
I
how
have
do
done
you-
that before, if
Okay.
it's somebody that just found me on the internet, or somebody I'm not really quite sure about, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I do.
thank you.
And you can always, I mean, if it comes down to it, if there was ever a problem, knock on wood, you can put a lien on the property.
Yeah.
You just put a lien
Keep
on
in
it.
mind that Janet's business is a lot of referral business, so she has a standard rapport and a confidence level.
Yeah.
Right.
If I'm working with
where-
somebody new, which you are, maybe in
Yes.
this case, I'm gonna ask them to pay for it, or I'm gonna support it myself in some manner.
Right.
Right,
So that's what you have to look at, but, you know what, 99% of the time I say it works out.
yeah. it does.
Right, right.
So far, so good. All right, same house, different side of the, same room, but different side. So they just, like I said, had a ton of drapes. These did go to the floor, which I was happy about, but they still were just too dark. They just blocked too much light. And a lot of times you have a dark house and you really need to make it as light as you can. So we took the drapes away and we put blinds in.
Oh, wow.
And then this color is called Accessible Beige by Sherwin-Williams. There's another one by Sherwin-Williams called Agreeable Gray. So those two I do a lot with. On this one, Rob walked in and he goes, "We're gonna have to cut it in half." And he was absolutely right. So I got a quart or a little sample of full strength, and I've used it before many times, but the light in here just wasn't enough light and it was too dark, so we cut it in half. So this is Accessible Beige cut in half by 50%. But it
They
worked out
really,
great.
less is better, you want it, you want a tint, the more color you have is gonna make it feel darker, especially in houses that are already dark to begin with.
Right,
So you always wanna cut that down, you just tell them you wanna reduce it, you wanna reduce the color when you go get it made.
right,
And we reduce it anywhere from 75 to 50%, and it always looks great.
yeah.
Quick question, accent walls, depending on color scheme, yes, no?
I don't do accent walls.
No, you don't
Don't
need
do
it,
it.
it's
I
personalized.
let them
Yeah.
do it if they
Yeah.
wanna do an accent
Natural
wall. I
color.
mean, the buyer,
You wanna give them a blank canvas, you just
Yeah.
want it bright, you want it clean, you want it to look like a model home, and that's it. That's why, it just
Yeah.
No
keep it simple.
personality.
and model
Great
homes do
question.
have accent walls, I'm not saying they don't, but it's just, I just would rather the buyer be able to choose which wall they want, what color they want.
Right, do by themselves, yeah.
This is the same house kitchen, again, this was a very orange light, it was like orange, and I'm like, oh. But then when I put the new light bulb in, it was amazing, turned out great. And I put new hardware on here, so this house had 3 different finishes of hardware. It had gold doorknobs and hinges. It had brushed nickel here, and then it had bronze light fixtures. And I'm like, okay, we need to pick one and run with it. So we did. So we picked the bronze, and it just turned out great. So the new doorknobs, hinges. You always want to do the hinges. Don't just do the doorknobs. And then, everything, it turned out great. This is a hall bathroom. It had a marble floor with gray and white, and then it had harvest gold. So you just change the paint,
Much better.
I mean, it's just amazing, right?
Much better.
That's all you did in that one was painted?
Yeah, I just
I mean,
painted
wow.
it, I put new light bulbs in, and I added this,
Flowers important too.
And then that's just another bathroom. And we added mirrors and we did some stuff here. This is just one of the bedrooms. I did put new drapes there that went to the floor, and blinds and paint, and new ceiling fan. Anyway, here's curb appeal. This is one of my big pet peeves, is crappy door mats. This was an $800,000 listing that I was showing. And I walked up to the front door and I wanted to gag. I'm like, are you kidding me? The listing agent should have been fired. I mean, what, $25, you go to Lowe's, you get a quality doormat and you put it there, come on. Okay, anyway. Also hardware and the front door not being painted and stuff. So this is not one of my listings, this is a different listing. Again, just an example of mismatched stuff, bad shape. This is one of my listings, and I just showed you, on one side I've done the new door hardware, on the other side I hadn't done it yet, so I just took a picture of it. But it made such a difference in the listing, I mean, it just. This is another listing of mine. We put new bronze on, and then we painted, and then we, staged it. The flower power is a big thing for me. I put flowers everywhere because people love flowers. It adds so much just to the whole ambiance of a listing. And anywhere you can do it, you know, within reason, do it.
So that was a vacant home, right? So what do you need to do to keep those flowers alive?
Well,
Today.
sometimes I go over and I water them.
Right, exactly. You have to go back to the house.
This house had a really great courtyard, but when I took the listing, it had PVC pipe running through it on the edges, white PVC pipe, old white, and then it had a ton, like 20 million little pots, little bitty pots. And so we took all that out, and I brought in a bench, I brought in the big plants, put in a fountain. So if, anytime you can use water, a fountain, it's such a great sound. Buyers love it. They're standing next to the front door. They're looking around. You're opening the door, and it's just a great thing.
Do you leave it there for the buyers though?
They wanted it, but no, I took it. I always put in there, staging is not included. Yeah. This house, same house, had vegetable beds. They were great. They were huge. They were like, I don't know, 20, 25 feet long each. But there was nothing in them but weeds and rocks. So I planted them because that's staging, right? And people walked in. It took a month to get this one on the market, so they had time to grow. And it was a good part of the year. And tomatoes were already happening. And buyers were walking in, oh, there's tomatoes. And we're like, great, spend $800,000. Right? But yeah, it's just a good thing. Anything that you can stage. You know?
Did you pull your veggies out when you saw
I
included it, but I did. This same house, it was a half acre out in the northwest, had a fish pond, but no fish in it. So I bought fish, and I put fish in the fish pond. I also put the flowers around in the plants. I had some plants planted, because it was just basically a pile of rocks. The water was working, the motor was working, but there was just nothing else there, it was like a pile of rocks. So it ended up being great. This was another flower bed. Again, when I took the listing, she just had this rickety old fence thing in it, I don't know. And so I took it all out and I planted flowers. And it was really pretty. This is not the professional photo right there, just one of mine, but it looked great in the professional photos. This was a backyard. This was the house that had all the peach drapes and everything. This took 2 months to get on the market. It actually watered a little longer. Had a terrible backyard, and it backed up to a pretty busy street, and then those were 2 rentals behind it that had cardboard in the windows. So it was not a great situation as far as, you know. So we had to make it as attractive as possible to get it sold, number one, and to get the money we wanted. So they were missing some trees. They were missing 2 trees over here. In between the palms, they had these bottle trees, and 2 of them had died like years ago. So I said to her, but I know why the former seller had planted them, because they wanted to block those homes, right? So I said, we're gonna buy 2 new trees. So we did. We put in 2 new trees. We redid everything. We got this stuccoed, and that's great. If you have a higher end listing, get it. If it's not stuccoed, get it stuccoed. It's not that much money. This was maybe $1,800 to get it stuccoed, and the difference is just amazing.
Don't you need the association too?
So-
That's what it turned out like.
God, I hate to be the question hog, but I got another one.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned, gosh, this one took 2 months to get it up before listing or whatever. So, do you have it under contract with people, or can you? I mean, because don't we have to have?
If it was somebody I didn't know, then
You
I
wouldn't
probably
have
would have.
it.
Oh, no,
Oh, you
I
do
would
a
have,
contract.
but I would have somehow had a contract or something,
Okay.
but
You
honestly,
signed
like I said.
contract today, but I'm kind of confused.
I just would have put the list date at a later time.
Later time.
Yeah, I would have said it goes live on this date,
Move to.
or whatever, and then you have to modify it or whatever you can.
Okay.
Again, we had already got it stuccoed.
Good job.
I'm coming up to your photos, Rob.
I know, I gotta
Where you
go.
going?
My appointment's early on.
Oh,
the show.
sorry, okay, all right,
All
bye.
right.
Janet, real quick before you move on.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on virtual staging? Do you use it?
I do, and I have some photos of it here coming up.
Okay.
I use it sometimes, it just depends. I don't use it all the time. This is some staging that I have, that's my own staging that I brought in. This is just a picture, it wasn't the pro because of that stuff in the corner, but. This was a Mirabella condo. And it was a beautiful $1 million condo listing that I had. And they had furniture outside, and the patio was gorgeous, and the view, you know, you can't beat. But the furniture really was just kind of like, you know, not the best. So I dressed it up, they didn't want to get rid of it, so. I dressed it up with a rug, with matching pillows, a plant, and then I ended up putting a plant here too. But anyway, it just looked a lot better for the photos, right?
Right.
Landscape lighting, I'm almost at the end, guys. Landscape lighting is really important. If you're gonna do twilight photos, you almost have to have it, if it's gonna look good at all. And again, you wanna take the solar screens off, because the interior lights will not shine through if you have the solar screens on, and it'll just ruin the photo. But this house had these beautiful big Palo Verdes, 5 of them in the front yard, beautiful, but no landscape lighting. And I said, well, we need to do this, you know, so we did. And the whole thing cost me about $300 to put those in, and they're solar, and they're so easy. And I can, if anyone wants to know the name of the brand, I can show it to you.
Yes.
But very easy. Made a big difference. This is virtual staging. This was Box Brownie that I did last year, I guess. And again, this house was it was a big vacant house. I had them change the light fixtures because they had just the mushroom lights. They had bought it from the builder, intended to rent it. Didn't want to put any money into it from the builder. I didn't do any upgrades, except for they did do a couple of nice fireplaces. But the lights that were there were awful. So I said, we're changing the lights, and then I did some virtual staging. It was a huge bedroom, so we really had to show, you know, there were just so many rooms that looked identical because they were all the same. They were all empty and big. And this was the loft. And they didn't have ceiling fans, so I told them you need to put ceiling fans in. This is Rob and Carol's listing. They did actual staging, and they used a company called Utopia. And Utopia, I have not used them yet. I haven't had an occasion to use them, but I would like to if I ever need to. I will use them. They provide staging. You can do it by rooms, and so you don't have to do the whole house. You can do the dining room, you can do the living room, do the patio. I always recommend doing something on the patio if you have a decent backyard, because backyard space is big now. Ever since COVID, it is a big deal out your outdoor space, because people, especially from California, that are moving here, if they ever, in their minds, they're like, if I ever get locked up again, or locked down again, I wanna have a great backyard, because I was locked into a terrible backyard and I couldn't go anywhere, right? So it's a big deal now. So if you can dress up the backyard like they did, plus they're on the golf course, so they had a nice view. But that's a staging company that's very good. Also, they will come in and do what's called a consultation. And if you have a listing and you know the house is just too full of stuff, or there's just things that really need to be changed, but that seller, they're very attached to it. You can bring them in as a neutral third party, and you can, and this is what I'm gonna do for a listing I have coming up, because it's just, I know we're gonna have issues. So I'm gonna offer it as a free thing. I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna pay for this, you know, a stager, professional stager to come in, and she's gonna give you a consultation. And they're all excited about it, but I can't wait to hear what she's gonna tell them. But, you know, it's not gonna be coming from me though. So she'll do it for like $250, and, you know, she'll do a full-on little consultation and come in and go, well, this is what I recommend, and it's not coming from you. So anyway, this company is a good company to keep in your back pocket for things like that. And that's my last picture. That's the bedroom that they did. But on a home like this was one of their listings. I think it was vacant in Tournament Hills on the course. Had a nice, you know, it's a nice house. You don't really want to do virtual staging in that house. You want to spend some money and you know, actually stage a few of the rooms. Master bedroom, living room, dining room, patio.
And who's paying for that?
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it. I mean, I'm not sure if they paid for it, if the seller paid for it.
You just paid the $250 consultation, or no?
No,
For the
this
staging
wasn't
company?
my listing,
Oh,
this
that
was
was-
Rob and Carol's, and this was actual staging. I'm not sure if they had the seller pay for it, or if they paid for it themselves, I'm not sure.
Does anyone know what staging costs to do a big home? Or-
This one cost them initially, I think they do it by the month, and they do it by the room, but it really wasn't too bad, and I don't have all the photos. There was also a living room that they did, and maybe one other, little office. And I think the whole thing initially for the first 2 months was gonna be $3,000 or $3,500, something like that, but not bad. You know, really not bad, and for a listing like this, which was probably over $1 million, you know, it was worth it, it was worth it, right?
Under a million, don't do it.
Well, it depends again, you know, it just
Depends.
depends. But anyway,
Some
thanks,
flowers.
Would any of you not hire Janet if she came to your house? Holy shit, right? Unbelievable, all that stuff. Thank you, Janet.
Very
Great, great.
professional.
Really good stuff, really, really good stuff.
Very
you
good
know?
stuff, yeah.
Hey,
Patty, we get an opportunity, we'll get the next opportunity that she can do a presentation.
we'll get Patty, we'll get Sylvia, we'll get everybody, you know, whoever wants to. Yeah.
One thing is, you see the value of a focus group and the team concept.
Oh, very
Because
good.
I had a list the other day, I ran it by them, and I went back to tell my customer, the focus group that I worked with suggested the following. I didn't take the heat, they did.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Alrighty, gang, thank you all for coming. It's freezing, I know, we got the heat coming on any minute, unbelievable, right? God help us here. You know?